Today, we are taking apart a really unsettling and often totally invisible form of manipulation. It's a pattern that goes straight for one of our deepest human needs, the need to feel safe and secure with someone, and it twists that need for safety into a source of constant nagging fear. We accept that a healthy relationship offers stability and security, yet a manipulator systematically injects small, calculated threats of withdrawal that leave us in perpetual fear. This is the dark psychological paradox of abandonment priming, a calculated, subtle use of nonverbal cues to instantly establish who's in charge. Okay, so let's start right there with that core contradiction. We'll call it the stability paradox. This is the bedrock of the entire dynamic. It's the promise of a safe harbor that's actually a carefully managed storm. The one person who is supposed to be your calm is, in fact, the source of the chaos. You know that feeling, right? That constant hum of anxiety, the feeling of walking on eggshells? On the surface, things might seem totally fine. You could have just had a great day together. But some part of your nervous system is still on high alert, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You can't really explain why you're on edge because the threat isn't obvious, and that's the point. It's a manufactured instability designed to keep you just a little bit off balance, all the time. So that feeling, it is not random. It is not a flaw in you. It's the direct result of a specific, deliberate tactic. So in this next section, we're going to put a name to this invisible weapon and really understand how it's used to turn your own deepest fears into a tool against you. And here's the name, Abandonment Priming. Let's be crystal clear about this. It is not an accident. It's not just someone being moody or needing some space. It is a calculated, hidden strategy. The manipulator gets it, consciously or not, that just hinting at withdrawal, with silence, with distance, with a tiny shift in their tone, can trigger a massive fear of abandonment in you. And that fear, that becomes the lever they pull to get whatever they want. Now look, anybody can use manipulative tactics, but abandonment priming is a real hallmark behavior you see with certain personality structures, especially borderline personality disorder. And here's the really twisted part. It all stems from the manipulator's own deep-seated fear of being abandoned. They can't stand that feeling, so they project it. They make you feel their deepest fear so that you will scramble to soothe it for them. You essentially become their outsourced emotional regulator. So how do they do it? What's in their toolkit? Well, there are three main tools they use to prime you. First up is strategic silence. This isn't just being quiet, it's a loud silence. It's designed to scream disapproval and distance. Then you have the withdrawal threat. This is that subtle hint that their affection, their approval, maybe the whole relationship is on the line. And finally, intermittent reinforcement. This one is the cruel genius of the whole system. It's that unpredictable switch between warmth and cold that gets you addicted, hooked on chasing those good moments like a gambler pulling a lever on a slot machine.
So, now that we've got the weapon and the tools, let's break down the attack itself. This is the engine of the manipulation. It's a systematic, three-stage cycle, and it's engineered to create anxiety and force a very specific, very predictable reaction from you. This three-step process is a tight, closed loop, and it can repeat itself over and over, sometimes multiple times at a single day. It starts with a subtle threat, which lights up a powerful emotional response, and that leads to a desperate action. Understanding this cycle is the absolute first step to breaking it. So let's get into each stage. Okay, stage 1, threat injection. This is the prime. The key word here is subtlety. We're not talking about a big, loud, I'm leaving you. No. It's much quieter, almost invisible. It's the sudden quiet in the middle of a conversation. It's them turning their body away from you. It's that one-word text, K. Your conscious mind might try to just brush it off, but your nervous system, which is wired for survival and connection, hears it loud and clear as a major threat. And that subtle prime immediately kicks off stage 2, anxiety activation. It's the trigger. For anyone who has a more anxious attachment style, this is like pouring gasoline on a fire. It hits you on a primal, physical level. Your heart starts racing, you get that knot in your stomach, your thoughts just start spinning out. You go into a state of hypervigilance, and all of your focus narrows to one mission. What did I do wrong, and how do I fix it right now? This feeling, this panic, it becomes so physically and emotionally painful that your brain just screams for the fastest way out. The manipulator has basically conditioned you to believe that there is only one way to make that searing pain stop.
and that's to do whatever it takes to close that distance they just created. And that brings us to stage 3, compulsive pursuit. This right here is the manipulator's goal. This is what it looks like. You're apologizing for things you didn't even do. You're pleading with them to just talk to you. You're abandoning your own needs to cater to their mood. You're basically working around the clock to solve an emotional crisis that they created on purpose. And when they finally give you that little crumb of warmth back, that intermittent reinforcement trains your brain that this frantic chase is the only way you can feel safe again. So why? I mean, why would someone do this? It feels incredibly cruel, because it is. But understanding the why behind it is how you start to depersonalize it. It's how you take your power back. And the answer is in a fundamental clash of needs. You can see this toxic dance right here. On one side, you've got the manipulator. Their goal is to get control in something called supply with the least amount of work. Their method? Just export their anxiety onto you. And on the other side, there's the target. Your core vulnerability is that deep human need for security in a relationship. So your response, compliance, is really just a desperate bid to turn down the volume on that unbearable anxiety they just cranked up to 11. So let's define this thing called low-effort supply, because it's a huge piece of the puzzle. Supply is the psychological fuel they run on. It's attention, validation, caretaking, you name it. And by using abandonment priming, they get a steady stream of it without ever having to do the hard work of a real relationship. You know, things like being supportive or consistent. They just inject a little threat, and you do all the emotional heavy lifting to give them the supply they need. It's maximum return for minimum effort. Okay, so understanding the what and the why is critical. But it's not enough. Now we shift from just analyzing it to taking action. This next part is all about empowerment. This is your defensive playbook for how to see this cycle and how to break it, moving you out of a reactive mode and into a strategic one. This is the fundamental question, isn't it? If the whole cycle feeds on your reaction, how do you just stop reacting? How do you unhook yourself from such a powerful emotional trigger? Well, the answer is a little counterintuitive. It has nothing to do with changing them. It has everything to do with changing your own response.
The defense plan is actually simple, at least in concept. Doing it takes a ton of practice and real courage, but it boils down to these 2 steps. First, you have to learn to see the tactic for what it is as it's happening. Second, you have to learn to manage your own internal response instead of just reacting to their cue.
Step 1 is all about becoming a detective of your own emotions. The next time you feel that sudden spike of panic in the relationship, just stop. Before you do anything, ask yourself, wait a minute, what happened right before I felt this? Did they just go quiet? Did their tone just shift? The second you can name it, the moment you can say to yourself, oh, this is abandonment priming, you shift from being a victim of the emotion to being an observer of the strategy. Now, once you've identified that prime, you need to use your anchor. The anchor is just a tool to ground you in reality when that emotional storm hits. It's a mental statement, a reality check you repeat to yourself to separate the feeling from the facts. It might sound something like, this fear feels real because it's a real neurological response, but it was triggered by a manufactured cue. This feeling is not the truth about my worth. And this brings us to the hardest but most important part, the pause. Armed with your anchor, you consciously refuse to engage in that compulsive pursuit. You don't send the frantic texts. You don't apologize. You don't chase. Instead, you turn all that anxious energy inward. You focus on self-soothing, deep breathing, a walk, music, anything that calms your own nervous system down without engaging the manipulator. This is how you starve the dynamic of its fuel. So, what does this all boil down to? It means the power to break this cycle was never in their hands. It's been inside you the whole time. This isn't about winning a fight against them. It's about refusing to even play their game. It's about choosing your own internal peace over their external drama. Let this one really sink in. The entire system of control is built on their ability to light up your fear. The anxiety isn't a byproduct of the manipulation. The anxiety is the manipulation. It's the very chain they use to keep you tied to them, constantly working to earn a sense of safety that they will never, ever permanently provide. So let's bring it all home. First, always remember that abandonment priming is how they trigger your fear of being left, and they do it on purpose. It's a deliberate act designed to destabilize you. The pattern is always the same. A subtle threat injection activates your anxious attachment system, and that forces you into compulsive pursuit just to find some temporary relief.
But awareness breaks this loop. By learning to identify the prime, to see that withdrawal signal for the tactic it is, and by choosing to use the anchor and pause technique, you break the chain. You make a conscious choice to prioritize your own internal peace over their conditional fleeting approval. And that choice right there, that's where your freedom begins.